recording now.
There we go.
There we go.
All
How's that?
right.
Magic words.
Sounds definitive.
Right. I was like, I can't, we're definitely recording now. So, for those in the room who just don't know me, which might be a couple of y'all, my name is Carl Gonzalez. I use he, him, and L pronouns, and I am the president of the BI and Pain Awards Council. I would like to have my admin team also introduce themselves. So I'm going to go ahead and pass it to Jay. Jay, if you can say your name, pronouns, and what position you hold in the BIDens.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jay, he, him, and I am the vice president of the Biden Pain Council. Bo,
That's
you
all we
want to
got.
go next?
I'll go. I'm Bo, and I'm the treasurer, once ostensibly and now for reals. Like they gave me a credit card and everything.
Yeah. Stephen Fay, go for it.
Steve Fay, he, him. Um, I do, I maintain our chart of eligible shows and also not an official title, but I'm the historian for the council on the memory.
That's as official can get, honestly. Lacey, go for it.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lacey Cannon Gonzalez. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the events coordinator for the council.
And last but not least, Idelise.
Hello, hola. My name is Idelise Collazo, and my pronouns are she, her, or ella. And I am the marketing and communications chair.
Awesome. Thank y'all so much. So what we're going to do today is we're going to host an open town hall. And how that's going to look is over the past month or so, we've received a few questions about our process, why we do the things that we do. So we're going to answer those questions first, and then we are going to go ahead and open it up to all questions. Now, we decided to make this meeting for non-BIDA members and for BIDA members who are new and are just curious on how the process works. So, yeah, can I get a thumbs up if everyone is okay with that? I love it. Thank you so much. All right, and also I'm going to go ahead and yeah, no, I'm just going to go ahead and read. If I am also, if you have a hard time understanding me, or if I need to make things more clear, please come off mute and be like, Carl, what's up? What are you trying to do here? And then I will be more than happy to make myself even more clear. All right, so the first question, let me find this real quick. So the first question, and we actually had multiple questions around this. So, would you consider shows not in Austin, such as Bastrop, Georgetown, etc.? They are just outside of Austin city limits, but very much a part of the Austin theater community. And we, so here's the thing. Of course, they are a part of the theater community, and of course, they are really important to us. Realistically, though, is that we have to think about our current capacity. So, with the number of productions that are already taking place in Austin, which is a lot, and that's incredible, but that combined with the committee being active members in the theater community, it can be really challenging for council members to meet our minimum viewing requirements, especially during the busiest times of the season. It's also important to note that our council is entirely volunteer based. So, expanding into additional geographic areas would require members to travel farther and commit to more time and resources, which isn't always sustainable for people who are balancing full-time jobs, transporting limitations, or the cost of gas. Y'all, gas is like 4.19 right now for unleaded. I was in a little bit of a shock with that. Yeah, any expansion has to be thoughtful and aligned with what our members can realistically support. As always, as BIPAC evolves, we will continue to revisit this.
We've seen 84 productions this year, and we're halfway through the season. So just as a baseline of how many things we're talking about. So it's not a question of not respecting the stuff that's out there because we know there's incredible stuff out there. It's a question of putting necessary restrictions on us so that we have the capacity to do the thing that we do.
Exactly. To go off on what Bo said, for example, there are a couple of questions that like, why can't we just add in, like add in Penfold, add in TexArts, add in Georgetown, who share a lot of Austin actors. Well, the two things that come to my mind are, so I live in Cedar Park. If I try to get down to a theater that's in Buda, especially during rush hour, that's a long commute for me. And anyone who lives in Buda, Kyle, going all the way up to Round Rock or going all the way to Lakeway is also that's a long commute, especially if you're trying to go to a show right after work. If I have to go across town, I don't personally see that happening. And also, if we include Round Rock, we'll have to include Georgetown,
Mhm.
Pflugerville, we'll have to include Lakeway, we'll have to include Bee Cave, we'll have to include Buda because we want this to be equitable. So once we decide to expand, we're probably including a lot of theaters, and it won't just be a select theater. So, did we create any questions around that? I'll hold for like 5 seconds. All right. Can I also have Jay? Will you just keep an eye on the chat? When I go back and forth, I won't be
Sure.
able to see the chat. So if someone asks a question, I would love to know.
Sure.
Next question. I wish I could be more like, when I'm on Zoom, but I'm always like, I'm transferring over to this document now, and it's not cool. So this is a big one right here. Can you explain the math behind how you average BIPAC votes with community votes? I understand your reasoning for why you keep the community voting element, but seeing many shows in Austin is becoming increasingly more inaccessible. I get it. Most tickets start around $40, and it makes it impossible to justify seeing shows on the regular. I go to as many as I can afford and still feel like I'm only able to vote for one or two shows per category. Understanding the math behind the impact may help alleviate some of the pushback on the system for me. So, what I'm going to do is we actually have a graphic with this. I'm going to share it after I explain because the graphic and the explanation don't necessarily complement each other in the same order. So, I will explain this as well as I can, and please, any members, anyone who's not a member, let me know if there is still confusion around this. So there are two parts to the voting process, the BIPAC nominating committee and the public ballot. Now, both groups are voting on the same categories and the same pool of eligible productions. So that means that, there aren't shows that only BIPAC members are voting for, or only shows that the public are voting for. Once voting closes, each ballot is scored separately. Those scores are then combined, and the production with the highest overall total in each category is what determines the outcome. The reason it's structured as a weighted system is because the two voting groups are very different in size. So this is 50-50, but the public ballot includes a much larger number of voters, while the committee is a smaller group. So the weight helps balance these two perspectives in a fair way. I'll give an example. Obviously, these are big numbers, but say if we have 29 members of BIDEN and there's 29,000 people who are voting in the public vote. That means if each one of our votes are 50-50, then say Bo's vote counts for 1,000 votes of the public vote. So that's how we keep it 50-50 is that, yes, our votes weigh more, but it's still only 50%. Does anyone have any questions on that before I continue? Okay, good. Let me switch back over. So, that being said, in practice, the results from both ballots are often fairly similar. The differences usually come in situations where a production has a shorter run, a smaller seating capacity, or is newer to the community and therefore seen by fewer voters overall. So, not only does this make it fair, but it also gives, for example, like when Bottle Alley was just starting and they only had shows that were in, found spaces and could only seat 25 to 30 people. They actually had a shot at going against something like Zach Scott Theater because of how the votes were weighed. And I think that's why, at least right now, we're keeping it 50-50. So the new companies, the smaller companies, have a chance to go on the larger companies. Any questions about that? And I apologize beforehand. I'm probably going to ask for clarification a lot. If you've ever worked with me as a director, I talk fast. So I want to make sure everyone understands me. The actors work with me are like, yeah, you really do. Like he is not lying. Now, we also require council members to meet minimum viewing requirements, which helps ensure that the committee vote is grounded in a consistent level of exposure across the season. So, for example, we encourage all of our committee members to at least try to see an average of one show a week. Sometimes that's not possible. I'll give myself an example with Pueblo Revolt coming up, and I am in tech. I more than likely will not see a show this week, probably the next couple of weeks. That being said, earlier, say in April, I saw 4 to 5 shows in 2 weeks. That still averages out to one show a week. So that's how we're able to, again, make sure that our committee is seeing as many shows as possible. There have been conversations about whether to remove the community vote entirely, but right now the reason we've kept it is because it maintains a direct connection between the awards and the theater community, and it helps keep the process rooted in the shared consensus of both peers and audiences. Again, if we find out that the community requests and not necessarily demands, but we see that the community would benefit to just being a be-item vote, then that is something that we would have to talk about as a huge group and would not be a quick change. It would be something that would truly just benefit the community because that's why we're here. So we are always open to change and feedback because we want to grow. Again, any other questions that or anything that I can help clear up, anything that I rushed over, anything I can make more clear for you? Give a few seconds. If y'all give me 1 second, I can go ahead and pull up the graphic as well. Okay, it might take me a minute to get the graphic up because of my computer is slow. But that being said, Kit Brooks is the one who made it for us and is absolutely incredible. They unfortunately could not be here tonight, but the graphic is incredible. And I guess I may like teasing the graphic here because I'm like, it's incredible, but I'm not showing it to you yet. I guess anyone from the admin, is there anything else you want to add on to as far as how voting goes and as far as the math and seeing shows? I realize I'm the only one talking right now.
No, it's better than having 15 people talk at once. So, and you've covered it.
Oh, yeah, and I would just add that with ballot, it's gone through very different iterations over the years. It used to be like just like the general community could vote, and once it came up, but then it was seen as just and yeah, and it wasn't weighted at all. It was seen as just like a popularity contest. So there were different experiments, and there was one like where you paid for a membership in Biden Payne as a non-council member to get a ballot, but then it was seen as kind of like pay to play. And then we were like, oh well, just pay what you want. But it was also seen as pay to play. So yeah, so long story short, the system we have now is kind of a way to balance and council members seeing it and recognize shows that won't have a lot of views but still allow the community to have some say in it. Yep. Yep. So sorry,
Awesome.
that was a little bit rambling, but just to give some context.
No, thank you. It's again, it shows that hopefully we're heading in the right direction and are making things more and more clear for everyone. Let me make sure no one's waiting in. Yep, we do have someone waiting in the
Oh,
room. Awesome. Thank you for everyone who is just in the waiting room. I'm sorry if I did not see y'all. Um, yeah, sorry about that. So let me go ahead and reshare because apparently I just stopped sharing everything. Let's do this real quick. Yeah, I was elected to see theater, not to like. Seriously, I get so embarrassed sometimes over my lack of knowledge when it comes to technology sometimes. Okay, let's try this again.
There we go.
Awesome. All right, so this is the
Yay.
exact same information that I just said, just with visuals, because I know me, I learn more from a visual than I do from someone lecturing me. So here, again, council members vote alongside the Austin theater community, and the final vote averages both of these groups. So the average of the Be and Paint committee and the average of the Austin community. What's an average? An average is calculated by adding each person's value and dividing by the total number of people. So here's an example on how that would work. Kent and Marcia are on the council. They place R2D2 as number 1 and 3, respectively. Tom, Cindy, and Ryan are members of the Austin theater community. They place R2D2 as number 3, 5, and 10, respectively. For the council, R2D2's average place is parentheses 1 plus 3 divided by 2 equals 2. For the community, R2D2's average is 3 plus 5 plus 10 divided by 3 minus equals 6. For the award process overall, R2D2's place will be 50% council and 50% community, which, if you look at here, averages out to 4. In this example, R2D2 ends up fourth in the overall ranking. I know math, y'all. I'm sorry.
Happy May the 4th, everybody.
Happy May the 4th. That's right. There you go. Okay, on weighted votes, there are fewer council members than community votes, so each council vote has a greater effect on the final score. This is what we mean when we say council votes are weighted. In this small group, each person's voice is worth 1/5 of the vote. Now, in this big group, each person's voice is 1/25 of the vote, a much smaller piece. So yeah, council members have a weighted vote. Here's another example. I will read out all the math, but because that also confuses me. But Kent and Marcia are on the council. They place C3PO as number 10 and 8, respectively. And Tom, Cindy, and Ryan are members of the Austin theater community. They place C3PO as numbers 1, 2, and 6. For the council, C3PO's average For the council, C3PO's average place equals to 9. For the community, C3PO's average equals to 3. So the award process overall, C3PO's place will be 50% council and 50% community, which equals to 6. In this example, C3PO ends up 6 in the overall ranking. another reason why we're going over this twice is because this was actually the one thing in our survey that people were still confused about. So I want to make sure we're as clear as possible when it comes to how voting works.
I have a question.
Mindy.
Yeah, so and maybe you and Jay touched on this and it just went by me, but defining members of the Austin theater community. So how do we as the council or identify who is a member of the Austin theater community as
It's the
opposed to the
people that
Austin community?
it's the people that sign up for our newsletter. So
Yeah.
if you're interested
Okay.
enough in the Austin theater community that you have been so kind as to sign up for our mailing list, we consider you a part of the community. And
Yeah.
we have a pretty broad representation of that. Like
Mhm.
people in different theater companies, sign up because obviously they want to be able to vote. And then we get people who are just audience members that want to know what we're up to.
Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. That also shows, and it also brings up why we do not vote on our own shows or theaters that we're affiliated with. So, for example, I'm the board chair at Ground Floor Theater. I cannot vote on a Ground Floor Theater show because my vote is weighted. And so that's, when it comes to favoritism or people saying that, oh, how do we keep from having favoritism on the council? That's one way how.
And yeah, and also not being in the room when it's discussed at our
Yes.
100%.
meetings.
Yeah, it's funny. Every time it's because we're all in the theater community as well. Every time we're deciding on the short list, it's always like, all right, Bo, I have to kick you out of the room. Elise, I got to kick you out of the room. Steven, bye-bye. It's always someone has to leave the room. That way we can talk about their show or a show that they were a part of. Any questions around the voting, about the weighted votes, or anything about what we've just discussed? I see Kaylin with a raised hand.
Hi, yes. I had a question from Andrew, who's also on the call, but his microphone isn't working.
Hello.
And he had a good question, because as you said, you do get kicked out when you are part of the production itself. But does it matter whenever you're voting in for a show that is part of a company you've worked with in the past? He said, like, what makes it so that you get kicked out? Yeah.
That's a good question.
Fantastic
Basically,
question. Go ahead.
yeah.
Sorry, Bob. Go ahead.
Basically, we kind of delineated, are you getting a paycheck from them? So if you're a designer or if you're an actor, whoever's getting paid, and obviously even if you aren't getting paid, if you're a performer, because we still do have some companies that don't pay their performers, then you would not, if you were on the council, you would not be allowed to just be part of that discussion. You would have to step out of the room. We also have a bit of an honor system. We kind of do encourage, like, if you are very close, for example, Lacey was directing something that was not at Ground Floor Theater, and therefore Carl went to go see it, not as a member of Ground Floor Theater, but as someone who wanted to see Lacey's show. Because they are partners, he would have to remove himself from that process.
Because I can't be biased.
It's levels of separation. But if you have done a show at the Vortex and you go see a show at the Vortex, you can talk about that show. You can be part of that discussion. It just depends on where things fall. For example, I am a board member at the Vortex. I cannot vote on anything that is produced by the Vortex Repertory Company. But if Different Stages does a show there, and I go see that show, even though I have worked with Different Stages before and I'm a Vortex board member, I can still vote on that show because my level of separation is enough that I am considered to be able to look at it with an arbitrary nature.
Thank you for sure. I like that levels of separation phrase. Thank
Mhm.
you.
Sure. Andrew, did that clear up anything? Do I need to provide more information?
That actually cleared up a lot for me on that, on what kind of constitutes walking out of the room. So that was awesome.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for bringing it. It's a very common question as well. So thank you for bringing that up. All right. Anything more around voting? I'll give us 5 seconds. I'll take a drink of water. All right. That's enough time. Sorry, y'all. The teacher comes out when I'm doing meetings like this. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to give you a 5 to 10 seconds of think time because I know when I'm thinking, a lot of times it doesn't come out quickly. So, yay. All right. Let's see here. I'm going to exit out of here and I'm going to jump to the next one. So, the next question that we had is why did the council get rid of the writing categories? For a town with so much new work, this feels like a bizarre oversight. The answer is we didn't. We did not. In fact, we actually have more writing categories because we have both feature-length original script and short script categories. So, yeah, writing categories never went away. Now, in case this was a misspelling and the question was referring to write in categories, as in I am writing in Bhopal for best treasurer of Biden, then the write-in part was hard to count fairly, and often that just turned into a popularity contest. And we're trying so hard to not make this a popularity contest. Sometimes we're very successful, and otherwise, with the popular vote, sometimes that can be hard to do. So we changed that part to make sure that the system was clear and more fair for everyone. Now, to be clear, we still love and value new writing and new work in our community. Um, we also had something originally called the events category.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, that was way too broad and included things like, one night only shows, which made it very hard for our volunteer council to see enough of them. So if Lacey's doing Lacey Cannon Gonzalez one night only and wants B. Iden, Lacey, yeah, that goes up next week, right? Um, when she wants all of B. Iden to come and see it, that's not going to be possible. It's going to be near impossible to get the minimum views for that show. So, unfortunately, that was a category that we had to get rid of, or at least put on the back burner for a bit.
And as community members, you can always reach out to us and go like, "Hey, there's this mystery category that I know about, and you guys should. It's underrepresented." We are more than willing to listen to you, and we create new buckets and new categories
Yep.
every season. We like doing that. We want to show everybody in this town how everybody in the community shines. So by all means, if you think of something, let us know.
Yeah.
Our
We're always happy to give out more trophies.
Yeah,
Hmm.
our goal is to to have y'all make fun of us for how many trophies we give out. That is our goal. Um, Perfect. Any other thing around that topic? Hopefully that was pretty clear as far as writing and original scripts. Moving right along. So here's one that we've gotten a few times. How do you evaluate backstage categories such as stage management, run crew, and dramaturgy, etc.? And here's our answer. Now, when we look at nominations for backstage roles like stage manager and run crew, we're mainly looking at how the production runs during performances. That could include things like timing, cues, and how smoothly all the transitions and technical elements come together on the stage. But we also recognize that a lot of this work happens outside of what the audience sees, including during rehearsals, including all the behind the scenes prep that's essential to making the show run well. So for right now, we've decided to focus on what can be consistently observed during performances, so the process stays fair and consistent across all productions. Our goal is always to recognize the how important these roles are in making the show successful, but this is the way that we can be the clearest and most equitable way we can do at this moment. And again, this is definitely something that we are always trying to improve on, trying to figure out what's the best way to recognize these amazing stage managers. But as of right now, this is how we do it.
It's a tricky process because, if you're a really great stage manager, one of the things that you do is you make the production look seamless. And, that's all we can kind of do is go like, wow, I didn't really notice any stage management. That must have the person doing it must have been great. So, it's a very difficult category to establish a rubric for, and we do our best to recognize what we do see.
Yeah. We are also, and I cannot stress this enough, we're not perfect. As much as you look at Bo and think this man has to be perfect, we are definitely not. And we are always, I am always, the admin, the council is always open for feedback. Whether or not we can, take that feedback or not, the moment's a different story, but we crave feedback, we crave growth for the B items.
I also want to add just to what you're saying that rest assured we're not perfect, but we can assure you that the council is very generous. We do, like in our monthly meetings, we advocate for your work. Um, Everyone goes forward and put plenty of nominations, which then at the end of the year makes it even more difficult for us. Um, but we're there advocating for you and we're open for your feedback.
Any other questions that we've created for y'all around this topic? I'll give us 5 more seconds of think time since we're all kindergartners in here, including me.
We are all
We're-
kindergartners that have been given jobs.
Right, for real. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on then. Ooh, here's a good one. Why do you charge tickets for the awards ceremony? Can nominees get comps? It feels weird to give you all free tickets to our shows while we have to pay for yours. I 100% understand. But here's the thing. So ticket sales are for the awards and our annual fundraiser are what make the ceremony possible. They cover the venue, contractors, and the growing number of awards themselves. Because of that, we're not able to offer complimentary tickets to all nominees without putting the event at risk financially. Now, in the past, we did provide free and discounted tickets when there were more city funding. Oh, excuse me. When there was more city funding supporting the awards, but as that funding decreased, we had to shift away from that model in order to sustain the awards. We do still offer comps for performers who perform during the ceremony. We understand that cost is a real consideration, but hopefully the food, drink, the quality of the show, and just the opportunity to celebrate together as a community is worth that ticket price.
And we're working on it just like everybody else who is working in Austin and the arts. The last couple of years have been very rough. We're now dealing with a new system, and we're still figuring out things that work and things that don't. When it comes to the city and when it comes to funding, we will always be trying to, uh, uh, obtain grants that will allow us to ameliorate our prices. We don't want to bring up prices for tickets, but yeah, that's the nitty-gritty of it is that's really the only thing we do that we make money on. We don't charge for anything else. We're none of our members are paid. We meet over Zoom. We don't have a golden hall somewhere, despite what some people might think. So yeah, it's the reason we charge is so that we can do the thing in itself.
Any questions around that? Again, it might not necessarily be the answer we want to hear. It's not even the answer we want to give, unfortunately. It's just the answer that is the reality right now. I think one of the comments was talking about how tickets are up to $40 a piece now. And, unfortunately, if we want our Austin theater community to survive, we either have to bump up ticket prices and or, fight to make Austin a truly an arts town and give the theater more money.
Yep. Talk to the people that represent you on the city council. That's, the city hall is where all of this happens. And,
For real.
the only thing that council members really listen to more than, PAC money is their constituents like getting up in their face. So the more you yell, the better things are. And hopefully the cheaper things get.
Also,
Anything? Go ahead.
yes, just adding when it comes to the tickets, when people ask us, for instance, to add more categories or to expand, this is one of the situations that we also think about, before going forward with that decision. That would mean that the ceremony is going to be more lengthy and there's more awards that needs to be given. So it adds to the cost as well.
Yeah, right now, I believe as it stands, we have to be out of the venue by 11 p.m. Was it 11 or 12? I don't know
Midnight.
if they bumped up midnight. So the ceremony, we try to have it wrapped up by 11, so we get like a very fast hour
Yeah.
of behind paying people running through the Scottish Rite like a tornado, getting everything cleaned up.
Yep.
Because, if we go past 12, we get charged for another day. So there you all are.
That is actually a fantastic segue into our next question, which is around the Scottish Rite. So, in 2025, the awards were packed with not enough seats and it was a ticketed event. Will there be a change in venue this year to accommodate seats and space? Now, we're already making adjustments. But a couple of things I want to say before we talk a little bit about the adjustments we want to make. But we are not changing our venue this year. We're simply going to be improving how the lobby and entry process works so it's easier for people to get in and find seats. We also want to make sure that it's very clear that the mezzanine is open. Last year, there were a lot of seats that were unused because people didn't realize it was available, and that was on us. We need to make it very clear that the mezzanine is available for everyone to use. We are also thinking, if we have the bandwidth, about adding ushers, at least a couple of them, to help the general flow of the event. Right now, the Scottish Rite is sort of the perfect size for us because anything smaller, we're going to have to turn people away. Anything larger just isn't possible or feasible financially, or it doesn't make sense capacity right now. So we're going to focus on making our current space better for everyone attending.
Yeah.
And to sell Scottish Rite a little more to everybody, Scottish Rite allows us to bring the food. They allow us to bring the drinks, and that means that you're not paying for those. So you're paying $40 for a ticket, but you're also like you can hove up to that buffet table, eat all you want. You can, as long as you're willing to stand in line, you can get as many drinks as you want, as long as you're imbibing responsibly. And yeah, so you're paying for a lot more than just going to the theater. If we go bigger, most places are not like that. I'm not going to mention any names, but if you go to certain places in Austin that are going to be bigger than Scottish Rite, they're going to be like, great, but you have to use our booze, you have to use our food, and you're going to be paying for that. And that means you're probably not going to be paying $40 for that ticket.
Yeah. Lacey, I see you have your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks. So last year I was one of the co-directors of the ceremony, which was really a fun event. I really had fun putting it together, but like through that, we were able to see like ways that we can improve. So we are actively in talks, or going to be in talks with Scottish Rite, with their team, with Dee, Megan, Yelena, about what we can do to improve flow. If there's something about the layout that we can do differently, just to make it seem a little bit less crowded and inviting to come into, so you don't feel like you're like diving into a horde of people, because I realize that does happen. But yeah, we are taking steps to find better solutions for this year.
And once again, shouting out to Scottish Rite because they're some of the best people to work with, and they let us treat Scottish Rite like our home. So makes you happy. Any questions around the venue this year? All right, let me see if we have any more questions.
Oh, Carl, it looks like
Yep.
you muted yourself accidentally. There
I
we go.
did mute myself.
Whoops.
That was actually our last question that we had.
That was submitted through the questionnaire.
That was submitted through the questionnaire. That is correct. So now, if we need to clarify anything, or please, this is y'all's time. We want to open up the floor to any questions you might have, and that we are going to answer them truthfully, honestly, and the best that we can.
Or just listen with open ears.
That works too. Kaylin, I see your hand.
Yeah, Andrew had some questions about the standard of care, I believe, or the Artist Bill of Rights. One of those. I'm going to pass them to you.
Oh, hello. So I think the Bill of Rights kind of answers the question as well as the standard of care, but just to kind of confirm for cases of if an artist of any kind is having any sort of issue and they come to you guys, how does that get resolved and how does that get handled? Um, and like a claim of sexual harassment, but in general, what's situations where they go to you guys get handled?
Sure, fantastic question. I have also been talking a lot. If anyone else on the council would like to answer this, please do so. If not, I'm more than, I just want to make sure I'm not taking up all the space.
And one thing, I mean, I know it's not a full answer, but one thing that I'll add is that if something comes to our attention, for example, in Romeo and Juliet, in rehearsals, the fight choreography was really unsafe. It looked like Romeo was going to get hurt a couple of times, and we heard that well, in fight choreography, and won't be eligible for this production. But other elements and would be. So that's one way we would handle and with that we wouldn't consider it. I think it would take more to not consider a company's production entirely, but I don't know the full picture, so I won't talk to talk more in that aspect. Yeah. I hope that helps
Sure.
a little bit.
Yeah, I can expand on that for you, Andrew. So let me see if I can just give an example. So right now, our minimum standard of care is led by Kit Brooks. And anything that is submitted to us goes directly to Kit. We have a couple of us, but are assembling a team from the admin and a couple of trusted advisors to look at each situation differently. So I want to give you an example of with people in this room, just knowing that all of this is fake. So say if um, I am directing Bo and Lacey and Idalise in a production, and I am severely mistreating our actors. I am yelling at them. I'm, throwing things at them. I am verbally abusing these actors. Then it is up to Idalise, Lacey Bo, or someone who sees this action to contact the Iden. What happens then is that we will either not count me for directing, or a lot of times people will ask us to help mediate a situation. That doesn't necessarily mean that we can solve the issue because we can't exactly tell a company to stop, like, oh, if you don't do this, we will shut you down. We don't have that power, unfortunately. But we can also review the complaint. If that's the case, then Kit and the team will sit down with me, Bo, Idalise, and Lacey, either together or separately, whatever's agreed on. And we will say what happened, what the complaint is, and what actions need to be taken. A lot of times that's also involves the artistic director of a company. So if it's Jay's company, then Jay would need to be involved with that because then it would be up to Jay to decide where to go from there.
Uh, so we don't have any direct authority. Obviously, we need to be brought in, and when and if we are brought in, we generally bring in some outside parties ourselves so that it isn't just people from this community that we're addressing this in a serious manner with people that know what they're talking about. Uh, the biggest idea I can give people of as far as wrapping their heads around what kind of happens is we're trying to do the opposite of what the Jeffs did in Chicago. If you're available at that scandal, which is that they did give recognition to an artist that had faced a lot of complaints, and they lost their standing in the community, and many of the independent, not equity theaters in Chicago are no longer working with them or giving them tickets. We want to be the opposite of that. So we want to be the people that, if we hear about people that are doing damage to the community, we withdraw our recognition of them, and we do not, allow them to be committed through our means.
Okay, a follow-up question to that. Just since this will be on the record and recorded, where can people submit these complaints? Is it through the website? Is it through, do they have to know specific people in the council to let them know? Yeah, just like where on the website could they submit?
Let's see.
Give us 1 second. There is a website for if you don't know anyone on the council. But for example, like Kaylin, if you or Andrew or anyone like unfortunately go through this situation, you know very well you can contact me, you can contact Lacey, and we will get you all in contact with the proper people. And for those who don't know, Bo, do you have do you have a website pulled up or no?
I'm trying to pull that up. Let's see
Sure.
if our
And we have an
FAQs.
email too,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
or you can send us an email.
Can we put that email in the chat, please?
Mhm.
Yeah, if one of y'all can do that, that'd be great.
What you can do is you can reach out to us through the website or through our email to lodge those
Yeah,
complaints.
where on the website? That was my question. Like, is there like
Yeah.
a form? Do we need to make one?
Yeah.
So there's a section on at the upper menu called the fine print,
Gotcha.
and that it has a pre-stated form that you could file a complaint on regarding the minimum standard of care and artist bills of rights. Hold on 1 second, and I'll just send you that in the
No, yeah,
chat.
definitely.
Actually, Bo, what I may do since this is really important, give me
Mhm.
1 second. I'm just going to go to the website and then I'll just share how. Oh, actually, this is perfect. I'll go ahead and click on this, and that way we can all just see it together.
Yeah.
Great idea.
So I'm going to
And
go
those
ahead.
also have links to the documents, to the minimum standard of care and the Bill of Rights. And speaking of which, we've already mentioned Kit, who was so nice to set up our math slides explaining how our votes are weighted. They are also in charge of this, ballywick. And they are currently talking with other people, including fellow council members, but I believe we might be bringing in some other people too, just to look at the minimum standard of care document and expand upon it, because that was basically, I've mentioned Chicago before. There was a similar situation regarding artist complaints, which kind of led to the minimum standard of care being accepted by Austin and by a number of other communities. But that was a while ago, and things have changed, and we do want to keep our thumbs on what is going on, and what we need to be aware of when it comes to people being treated with respect and safety.
So right now I am at the homepage for Behind and Pain Awards. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to the fine print and I'm going to click on it. On the fine print, I can click on the minimum standard of care, which brings up our document about the minimum standard of care. I can go to the Artist Bill of Rights, which takes you directly to the Artist Bill of Rights. And then, if unfortunately you have to make a complaint, I'm going to go down here, then I enter my name, email address, the production. So I'm just going to pretend, I'm just going to do this for pretend. So it's Carl Gonzalez. Then I'm going to do carl.r.gonzalez@gmail.com. The production I'm complaining about is Pueblo Revolt. The company is Ground Floor Theater. And then I'm going to be complaining about the director. So what's going on? director is yelling at Ben Bazan and AJ Reyes because of A, B, and C. So as soon as I do that, I'm going to go to reach out and I'm going to submit that. We will then receive it. And that is for the recording. So there is absolutely no question that it is easy to get to us. And as always, if you know someone on the council, then please, and if you feel more comfortable messaging them first and then having them message us, that's one way to do it. But I just want to make sure that I spelled that out as clear as possible. Andrew and Kaylin, did that clear up any questions that y'all had?
It cleared up a lot on my end because I do know that we can comfortably go to you and Lacey and really anybody, but I imagine not everybody has that same level of comfortability.
Or
Sure.
they don't even know how to navigate the website necessarily, but this on record really will help them. That walkthrough you just did for sure.
Cool. Awesome. That makes me happy to hear. Lacey, then Jay, did you have your hand up?
I'm sorry, I was just using one of the reactions. Sorry.
Oh, okay. You're all good. I just want to make sure I didn't skip over you. Lacey, go for it.
Yeah, I just want to stay on record. Yeah, it's like if anyone wants to contact someone directly, please don't hesitate. My email is canonlacy@yahoo.com. Please do not hesitate to reach out if you have a direct complaint and you don't feel comfortable filling it out yourself. The other thing I wanted to say was you do not have to be a member of production to file a complaint. All you have to do is witness it. So if you are with someone, like say you go visit your friend at a rehearsal and you witness something that isn't good, that shouldn't be happening, and that makes you feel uncomfortable, you can file a complaint because you witnessed the behavior.
Beautiful. Thank you. Yes, oversharing this because it's really important. All right. Is there any more questions around minimum standard of care, or are there any other questions about anything else related to BIDIN?
I think I'm just gonna add as well that this also, we're talking here about actors, but it's not limited to actors too. It could be stage designer, like it could be the director, it could be the other way around too. If you have an actor who's
Yes.
becoming also abusive towards you, so it goes both ways. So I wanted to add that, and also that it's good that you're bringing up, that people might not be clear. We're also working in ways of improving our communication and using more the social media. So that is food for thought for also for us to add more info out there for you. So thank you.
Awesome. Unless anyone has any other questions, I'm just going to bring up a couple of things. Does anyone have any questions about how our presence is on Instagram or Facebook, or why we share how we share, or how we advertise shows, or is that pretty clear? Mindy.
Yeah, so for it to be clear in my own mind, I'm very hesitant about posting on my social that I went to see the show or I love that show because I don't want it to appear that I'm complimenting somebody and leaving somebody out. So I try just to say, if I see somebody there and we're in the audience together and we take a selfie, that's great. But I really want to make sure that I don't give any impression that I'm favoring or not favoring a show. So with that in
Sure.
mind, how best should we participate in social media?
Yeah.
So
I was gonna
yeah.
say, can I see if I've captured this right as someone who's not on admin but who posts all the time about
Please,
shows?
Noel.
Yeah, totally.
The understanding I have is that as long as I do not express any sort of tell people to go see it, any sort of real opinion, even as long as I just say I am seeing it and I tag the item, that's really the best practice. Is like, here I am, picture of the program, tag the item and say come sit with us.
You're halfway
Okay.
halfway there. You can say, wow, this was really good. I loved it so much. The acting was great, blah, blah, blah. What we ask that you do not do is make a direct call to action, which is like, you've got to go see this. Don't miss it. Go tomorrow, immediately. Yeah, anything that is just like, the people that I'm talking to, go see this. When you say like, I saw this and I thought it was wonderful, that's not a call to action. That's just like, hey, this is this great show. And if somebody reads that and they're like, that sounds like a great show, I want to go see that. That's not you coercing or using favoritism.
Okay.
That's just you expressing your honest opinion.
So what I'll do is I'll actually I'm following everything up with an example if I can. So a good example would be I went to go see say if I went to go see Hooded Crow, Cleo's new show, and I'm there and I'm like I'm here enjoying Cleo's show. Yay, Cleo's show was great. That's fine. But if I go and I say, hey, come join me at Cleo's show, or please don't miss Cleo's show, that we can't do. So we can't invite people to come with us. We can say, come sit by us because it's one of our hashtags, because we're not saying for you to come over here and sit by us. But guess what? If I'm going to the theater alone and then all of a sudden Jay and Mindy walk in, guess what? Jay, Mindy, come sit by me. Let's all enjoy theater together. Noel, come sit by me. Let's do it. Um, please produce Cleo's show. That's funny.
Yes. Yes.
But
That's a
yeah,
call to action.
right? That is an example of a direct call to action. But yeah, that's is that difference clear, Mindy?
It is clear because that's standard in nonprofits that
Exactly.
you can't do that. So we have the same thing at co-op
Yeah,
radio.
that's why when you go on co-op, you can say, "Hey, we're doing this show. We're going to talk a lot about it, blah blah blah." But you can't say, "Come see the show and here's how much
Yeah,
the tickets are."
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
so that's the standard.
That's the
It's
same.
the
Yeah,
standard call for action.
yeah. Okay. I just wanted. I think I've just been particularly careful.
It's an
So
easy
That's
thing to
fair.
get nervous about. I certainly, when I was, on my first year on council, I was like, "Can is it okay if I take a picture? Can I just say, say I saw these people?" And yeah, it is.
can I stand with the rest of the audience for a standing ovation? It's
Yeah.
so anyway, but yeah, knowing that, then I will do my best to be more present in social
Sure.
media.
That being said, if it's your own show and you're not voting on it, like
Yeah.
for me with Pueblo Revolt, every post is going to be get over to see Pueblo Revolt. See it right now. This is the best show in Austin. See the show, see the show, see the show, because I'm not voting on it. So, yeah, if you're involved in the show, invite people out, please, because it's already hard to get butts and seats already. So,
Hmm.
yeah,
By the way, go see
fantastic
Much Ado
question.
About Nothing too,
Oh, sure. We can, yeah, that
and that.
works. And
Yeah.
that. Any other questions? Try to think if there's anything else that I could just be in my head about.
I just want to add about the social media, like part of
Yeah.
what we do with tagging people or showing ourselves, like with the playbill. It's also so that productions know that we are in fact, going in to see their show. Because in the past, we've have heard some people might think if they didn't make it to the ballot, it's like, oh, the council members didn't come here. So we want to make sure
Mhm.
that yes, we are seeing your show, we are supporting you, and we also want other people to go in and see the show. So it's also a way for us to support them. So keep tagging.
Mhm.
Anything else? Okay. Honestly, this has been really successful. I think, maybe trying doing this like twice a year wouldn't be bad practice. Just for anyone new coming in, like maybe at the beginning of our season and then closer to like midway through our season or something like that. I don't hate that idea. But I really, really want to thank everyone who asked questions, who asked really thoughtful questions, and also who was brave enough to ask questions because that can be really nerve-wracking. But I promise you, when you asked the question, you probably cleared it up for a bunch of other people. And anyone who's watching this right now or who watches this, please feel free to reach out to us if you have any additional questions. We are literally here to serve the community, and serving the community is checking ourselves and seeing where we can do what we can do to become better at our volunteer positions.
Come sit by us.
Come sit by
Mhm.
us. And also, before we go, I know a few people know about this already, but Lacey, do you want to plug a Be Ident event coming up?
I would love to. Yeah. We are doing a fundraiser for that award show we were talking about earlier on May 18th at Ground Floor Theater. It is going to be a spring carnival. So think popcorn and frozen lemonade. We're going to have tarot readings. We have someone doing caricature portraits. We're going to have games and prizes, some karaoke. It's going to be really fun. It's a $15 entry fee, and you get snacks and drinks and all sorts of fun stuff. So come join us and, yeah, help us produce this awards ceremony and have some fun while we're doing that.
Awesome. Well, I officially call this town hall meeting to an end. Thank y'all for not being like the people on Parks and Rec.
Hmm.
That really, that's why I was like, oh no, what am I doing? But no, y'all have been incredible. Thank y'all so much. Have a fantastic rest of y'all's night.
Y'all are wonderful.
Take care,
Bye.
y'all.
Take
Thanks.
care.
Bye.
Bye.